this really quickly. I'm hoping people got a chance to like read through it. So I don't really know how
Yeah,
all
there's
this.
only 9 of us on there, so
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I think the stuff is right there. I looked at the document, all the stuff that people said, and I just put it together. And honestly, it's just a sort of a read situation. So why isn't this going? There we go. So what we have, all these different groups, all this stuff going on, and then all these different referee audiences. I think one of the things that confused us a little maybe in the last meeting was we didn't really clarify these different referee audiences. So as we're preparing stuff, we got to think about all these groups. Then there's this whole LRO versus national dynamic. Did you guys who are here get a chance to read any of this? Anybody disagree with anything? Okay, if you don't disagree.
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but what would the structure from the national side be this year? Because I mean, we may be arguing a point that's non-existent. I don't think it's going to go back to the way that games were allocated in the past. Correct?
Yeah, I think that like things like that, no, we can't. There's a lot that we can't know for a while. So I was just trying, because our job, as I was understanding it, was that we're just supposed to gather up what all the issues are, gather some intel, maybe suggest some solutions, but there's going to be an actual standing committee. We're like an interim committee. So our job was to gather up issues. That's what I understood. So that's all I'm doing is putting down, these are the issues, here are some things to work on, and then we have some jobs for people to do to gather more intel if people are interested in working on it. So did you get to read through this stuff, Marquise? Is that what you're saying?
No, yeah. I mean, I read through it.
So is there anything that you disagree? I mean, if we catch a slide that something you disagree with, let me know. Because it seems like
No,
all the stuff that we got.
yeah. From my perspective, it's kind of like the things that we're working on locally, and I guess on a regional side, and the things that we complaining about. Like this time I feel like what we're doing is trying to be proactive and just go for it versus like, hey, here's all our problems, and then giving it off to another committee to try to fix some things that we could have done like 2 months ago.
Right.
That makes
if
sense.
we can fix some things, that'll be great. I just think that not everyone knows about all the histories and things, and it's part of the dynamic. Because if we make up national things and we don't think about how the LROs are going to hear it or perceive it, if we're not thinking about the history, then I think we could crash and burn. We have to have this in mind as we approach LROs with new solutions. Does that make sense? Like maybe not yours, you're in a different environment, but some LROs are really hostile to anything that comes from USA Rugby. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. If you see something that you disagree with anybody, let me know. There's a pathway, we can talk more about that. That has to be talked about. So we have all these issues about clarity at the local level. So hopefully we can work on gathering up more information about it, helping LROs understand how their level systems work and don't work. So I think all of us here are in pretty well-established societies. So we don't really have a voice from someone who isn't. So these are some more issues. So here are some things to work on as the pathways. And Richard has a grid for this pathway thing at the bottom, like relating advantage to the promotional systems, which I'll show you in a minute. Let me just get through all of this. I just wanted to go through it, see if anyone had anything that they objected to or that they had questions about.
Did anyone look at one of the hyperlinks I put in there for Rocky Mountain? Because that ties into what Richard was doing.
Oh yeah, I have a tab for that. It's really nice that for people who understand what Richard's doing really well, it's really nice.
Yeah. Also, Advantage is going through a little bit changes, so
yes,
it'll be a little different.
It is, yeah.
Well, if we can get funding for it, all the LROs, I don't know how that's going to work.
Right. See, that's one of those big questions we have, right? So we had some issues with coaching and evaluation. So I'm going to assume everyone just agrees with what I put together. They came from your comments and then some other things that I think all of us know. There's some next steps for coaching, like establishing a system, providing coaching. That's in a really weird space because the CMOs kind of knew, and then they were getting rid of the evaluators, but maybe they'll have evaluators, and we won't know that until we get set up again. Panels and selections, I don't think any of us can say how that's going to be, but we can talk about what we'd like it to be as referees. So there's some issues with recruitment and retention. Here are some of the next steps that came from the things that you said. Bing, strength and conditioning. And then, so these are the things I thought we could talk about. Actually, let me just show you first, because, oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing that Mark is talking about. His form, it's really nice. His form, if you click into it, he has goals for new referees that are directly keyed into Advantage. So if you're an LRO that uses Advantage, you would love this system. So I noticed that depending on what level the referee was, Mark, it looks like it goes to different competencies.
Sorry, I tried to like narrowly define like some really easy steps for referees to like, hey, what do I need to do to get to the next level? Okay, focus on these things. Like, and again, like, I can't say that, you know, let's take Jacob, for example. Well, Jacob, you know, is really good at whistle signal talk and really good at these things. He really wants to work on Advantage, but he's a level 9 referee. And it's like, and, you know, I just want to say like, well, just we'll get to that. Let's just climb these stairs one at a time, right? Show me that you can. I mean, this is like a L1. You know, this is the stuff that's not in the competencies. This is just like some of the stuff that a really basic referee should have. And then like when you get to like a level 8 or 9, you know, then you start digging into some of the technical competencies. And it's just like it's just a way to like, hey, if you do these things like 3 or 4 times and through this report, and anyone can coach this, then those tick the boxes. So these are some of the ones that get into the technical competencies. So like if Jacob can go and, you know, he applies all this stuff and he does well, you know, based off the last 5, 6, 7 reports I've gotten from coaches, you know, Jacob, I feel we can move up to level 8. And then after that, you know, Jacob can now start refereeing these type of games, like whatever they would be, right? Like
Right.
we use ref up, and I could myself and the development committee can put people in boxes to where they can't referee a D2 men's because you need to be a level 4 for that. So really, like a level 9's options would only be limited to festival rugby and, you know, whatever, like certain things. But this gives a pathway to like, okay, I've ticked these 4 boxes 3 times or whatever, you know, that now is like, we can promote him or he can come to us and go, here are the reports. I want to be a level 8 referee. And we're like, oh shit, sorry, we forgot all about you, Jacob. You know, because that happens a lot. A lot of people just get left behind and doing all the right things, and we just forget about them.
Yeah.
And that way, it's a 2-way street. And really, it's really up, you know, up to the referee. And again, I wanted to incorporate SMART goals, but SMART goals are kind of a thing of the past now. So I need to re-edit it. I didn't get to implement this in Rocky Mountain because of COVID. And
Oh, that blows. Yeah.
so I don't have any data on it. But
Okay.
like I
Okay.
said, we use Ref Up, and Steve can put this into Ref Up so it's all in one platform. You know, all your coaching reports there, all your assignments are there, all that stuff is in one location instead of having like, oh, I have to go to Advantage, do this, and whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So you've got a coaching report. I'm getting a reverb there, but you got a coach. This is Nick. You got a coaching report that's based on Advantage competencies, but it also has like beginner referee. You need to meet these basic skills first before we can move to the competency issue. Is that the way you thought it out?
Yeah, like just from doing a lot of coaching on beginning referees, like the main stuff is like, is it safe? Does it look like rugby? And then
Yeah.
what's your communication like? Because if you take a level 1, for me, the main point I want you to get is don't start bad habits and get whistle signal talk down. And that's an easy, deliberate practice, right? And then, you know, foul play obviously is a massive a massive concern. We want to kind of recognize that, and then and really, like, are you having fun? No, I'm not having fun. The
Yeah.
coaches are yelling at me. We need to stop that, right?
Yeah.
And then like every beginning referee says, I don't know where to stand, I don't know where to run. So I think running lines of positioning is a competency, and dangerous play is not, but enjoyment and whistle signal talk are not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, this is Olivia. This is really cool. And looking at the bullets that Roz had laid out for tonight, in terms of gathering different grading systems and the impact on performance. Like you said, Mark, that you weren't able to measure this, but I react to this, and it's similar to what we used for 7, similar but very different in terms of, here's some really basic things, and let's see where you are on those items. And I just think that this could be really easy to implement broadly.
Yeah.
Right?
And it all depends on like what everyone's going to do for assignments, right? Because we don't know how this is going to shake out. Is it going to be through Sport Lomo? Is Texas is going with what we used before? Who's the ref? Wisconsin and Rocky Mountain are going to go with ref up. Like, there's not an outcome of this.
But you don't have to have a ref up to implement this.
No.
I mean, this is standard coaching report.
It would be great that if I put this.
Everybody was on ref up? Yeah, it would be great.
No. If everyone was on one platform, like
Sure.
if I could go, if Jacob is coming to referee a game this weekend, I could be able to log into one system and look at some of his reports. That's kind of, I think, what we want to do is a global thing, a database.
Yeah, but yes, I mean that would be great. I mean, that's kind of what Advantage has provided on a national scale, or people that are interested in going that route.
Yeah.
For sure. But the problem is that you're not going to be able to dictate to LROs what system they're going to use. Some of them want to use whatever they're going to use whatever they want. So I mean, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, 100%. But I want to be able to influence or recommend, well, not I, but we as a group should be like, we recommend this because it can do this, and this. And you don't have to do that, because people are always gonna say, well, we have our own system and it works fine. Like, I've heard that over and over and over. I just want to and I don't care. Like, sure, I don't have a vested interest other than my friend developed ref up and it works, and my other friend developed Advantage and that works. But like I said, I don't have a vested interest. I just want everyone to be better.
Yeah, but I agree. But when you're dealing with L1 referees, it's like that's a local organization's job to prepare those people. So you don't have to go to a different society to train L1 referees. That's internal. But the idea of this is fantastic, that you can take basic competencies, basic fundamental ideas, and put them across the board in any location, using any format, using whatever else. If people want to start cross pollinating coaching reports, they can do that. But
yeah.
See, I think, so case in point, interesting. So here's what I came up with like 3 years ago. There's an online version. And we came up with this because people really didn't know what they should be working on in the beginning. So I wanted to show us these two very different systems tonight, because this is exactly why I think we need to have, maybe 2 or 3 people go to all the LROs and just gather up everybody's stuff and put it someplace central. Because someone might look at Mark's thing and say, oh my God, that is genius. And this is just a quick form. There's a whole online form for this one. And someone else might look at the New York stuff or the SoCal stuff and say, oh, this is the thing that we need. This is the thing that matches our people, So I think we need a clearinghouse with all of this stuff and let the people decide. Like, what if it's amazing,
So I got a question though, because when we're dealing with like the refs starting out, a lot of those matches aren't filmed and they're spread out in various locations. So when you just hand somebody a form and they really don't know what it means. They're just reading it. And I know for me, when I was going through school, if I had to take online classes, I would have failed because I'm terrible at teaching myself things. I need some help with that. And if you just hand them a piece of paper and say, hey, go at it, I don't know how that's going to be communicated.
Yeah, you wouldn't hand someone this piece of paper with nothing. This is for an observer to use.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that a lot of games aren't filmed and they're spread out, so there's not a lot of coaches that go to too many youth matches. So that's what's going to happen is that you're going to end up saying, hey, this is what you should be working on, and you're going to give them the grid, and they're not going to know what an excellent grade is or whatever. I know for sevens, we would get handed that grid, but it was different because all of us knew what we were talking about.
Right. Yeah, I would suggest that you just hand something like this or a marks form. You wouldn't just hand it to a referee necessarly.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my goals was creating so simple that it can, that like a senior, like you don't have to be a CMO to use this. It could be like Marquise could do a form on you.
Yes.
And then you could do it on the B-side ref, right? Like it should be simple enough to like, can you do 2 of these things? And that's all you gotta do. Can you do 2 of these things for 10%? That's a smart goal. And then maybe next week try 20%. And there's what the big takeaways is talk to him after the match for 10, 20 minutes, and then tick a few boxes. And congratulations. This should be easy. Tick a few boxes. Hey, look, you know what? You've done this 3 times. Jacob, you're a level 8 for the next meeting. Congratulations. You get to go to rugby.
I like that strategy way better than what I had in my head, because I think that like I said previously, when I was coming up, I had no idea really what was going on. Fortunately, like Marquise kind of walked me through everything, but not everybody has someone like Marquise who takes an interest in them. And so there needs to, when we roll something like this out, there kind of needs to be a system of best practices of how to do it. So I like how you guys just said, like, have an older ref that might be at the game, walk them through this and watch the game with them, because I don't think there's enough coaches to go around. And then not all the games get filmed. So, whoever's allocating matches is going to have to be really in tune with who's going where and what games are where, so that you can have the right people at the right matches to help the younger refs come along.
So you know the format from the sevens, from the rubric that Roz put together, but there was some pushback because it was a little complicated. So Rosalind, she developed a more simpler one for newer referees, and it's like really simple. That's kind of what I think, Jacob, what you're talking about, something that you can hand to a referee or at least.
What I'm saying is it was different in sevens though, because we're usually in groups in sevens, so you have someone always watching your game.
Right, but the idea, what we were trying to implement was to something that you could email to referees. Like, these are the things that we want you to think about. These are the the competencies that we want you to think about. It can be complicated. It can be difficult for a referee to implement that. But if you simplify it, it could be relatively simple. It could be 1 or 2, like this thing that you're looking at right here. This is something 4 things that a referee could look at and say, this is what I need to work on. Let's work on.
And I think this is great, and I'm familiar with something like this. Yeah. I just don't want like a new ref to not understand it because there isn't somebody there, whether it's a coach or an older ref, like they just suggested, to at least walk them through it. And,
of course, I think this is twofold, right? It's something to send referees to help them learn on their own, but the coaching aspect of it, the mentorship aspect of it is critical, but a separate idea. And a more difficult idea to implement as far as scheduling goes, just as far as numbers go.
So, what I'm hearing is like this form needs to be one for the referee to look at and evaluate himself, whether it be level 1 or whatever level he is. And then like one for like a coach mentor, and then one for the allocator, right? Like it just needs to be clarity, like, hey, can this referee officiate this level and everyone's going to be safe and this and that. Then the referee can look like, more of like I statements, like, you know what, I arrived at the breakdown, while before it happened or something like that. So I think it definitely needs to be like, hey, if you're a referee, here's your checklist. If you're a coach, here's yours, and if you are an allocator, here's yours. It was with similar, but different.
I think we're getting into the.
Yeah, we're diving a little too deep into this one.
Yeah, we're getting into the weeds.
But it was developed so that if you didn't have a coach, you can go do it yourself. Or so
I think a lot of these are, and you wouldn't give them without support. But I think our first job is really to collect what everybody does.
Yeah.
Because, Jacob, you're absolutely right. In some places we have lots of personnel to show up, in other places we don't. But let's see what people have. Maybe, one of those, maybe Pacific Northwest has a great form that they use because they're so far spread out. I don't know. So I think our first step is to get the information. Like, what do people have?
And then the subgroup can put together ideas, you put together ideas of how you can train their new referees, what type of formats you could use. So it's a good discussion. I think this is exactly where we want this discussion to go.
Yeah.
We just need to dive deeper in a smaller group.
Yeah. So then I do have like a little list of possible jobs, and one of them is to gather all this stuff up and talk about it, put it all together. So where were we? Oh yeah. So what about the somebody who said that about there aren't scholarships for referees who are not 21?
Yeah, that'll be me.
Yeah. So what do you think?
That's a joke jab, but we always like the young referees, and usually from I would get a national advertising. I don't know if it's like in practice, but from what I gathered is the promotions at least like national funds and stuff go to the younger guys and girls.
Right. Well, it's irrelevant now because those assets were pulled.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Don's wife pulled the money.
Yeah, I thought you meant like Stellenbosch and stuff, but you just mean the national stuff. Oh yeah, there's nothing.
Well, that was the Morrison Shanager thing that he was talking about.
Yeah.
I still think Life may offer a scholarship to a referee, and I think maybe Haley could comment more on that because she's near there. But that's not. I don't think that's what Marquise was talking about.
Okay.
I know.
You froze up, Haley.
I've heard from. Am I plugged in? Huh? Sorry.
Yeah, you're back now.
You're back.
Okay. Yeah, my unstable connection. But now I don't even remember what we were talking about. So crap.
Scholarships.
Yeah. So Ian Seaton, she saw him referee and she liked him, and said, we have money for that kind of thing. If you wanted to consider, a graduate program, we have business, blah blah blah. So it's usually like she scouts refs. I don't know if Dan Payne scouted Duncan and offered him a referee scholarship, but they're probably not the only school, but it probably disguised as another scholarship for someone who's going to eventually play is my suspicion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my thought was more on the lines of if I'm recruiting a referee and he's just graduated grad school or just finished playing, he's about 27, 28. Usually he's about too old for sevens, right, Nick?
No, not at all.
From a selection side, I would say that technically, sure, he's not, but from the people who gets the jobs, like that's what I'm seeing from the ground perspective. And then all of the Morrison kids, because I was underneath the USA umbrella, whether they were in control of it or not. But what I don't necessarily see is any kind of national incentive for just that generation of referees in their 30s.
This is the type of kind of the information that needs to be disseminated better. Obviously, if LROs, if groups are thinking that, some referees are over the hill, so they shouldn't be pushed forward and things like that. I mean, that's the type of information that needs to be better communicated. And it's probably better communicated directly. I don't know whether it can be better communicated with providing funds somewhere, but yeah, I mean, it's just That's the type of thing that we're trying to fix with these groups.
Yeah.
So it's just simply not the case.
Cool. So next, anything, anybody know, is there any research around grading and growth? Mark, you had said something about that. Is there research around that, or you just don't like it?
What do you mean? Could you explain that better?
You had said that grading and levels doesn't, it's like, I don't know, you said something, it's a cancer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I just said it's very it's tough. It's every new referee like wants to be judged and wants to be coached and wants to be like, where do I compare to this person, and how come this person got this game and I'm not getting that game? And I just from experience, like coming up, like, oh, I want to be a B panel. I want to be, what do I got to do to be a B panel? What do I got to do? What do I got to do to national panel? What do I got? And it's so toxic to be in that environment, you know, that as soon as you let all that go, you will achieve what you wanted. Like, I mean, I went through it. Nick's gone through it. You know, Mitch Dam went through it. Karen went through it. All the new up and coming referees come up through it. And it's just like, ugh, do we even need this? And just talking with Chris Pollock a little bit, it's like, yeah, we don't even have grades. It's just, can you referee in this competition? Which is kind of where we're going a little bit. Like, if you look at WPL selections last year, there weren't national referees in it. It was just well, honestly, it was like, where did you live and were you good enough to referee in the competition? So so the grades is kind of a moot point. PRP too, and AR, all these competitions, D1A, it's all about economics, and
Yeah.
and grading is just kind of dumb. I think it was developed because we didn't have video and we didn't have this. And if Florida was gonna send referees to Aspen Ruggerfest, and we were gonna send stuff down to Tropical Sevens, we have a B panel we want to send down there, and that was a litmus test of like, okay, well, they can at least handle Division I men's match or whatever, you know. And I think that's all it was for. But I think it's kind of a dead issue.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It
I'll get
also,
off my soapbox.
yeah, it also does kind of have some disadvantages because, you know, once you're a certain level, you don't go back down again. So that's kind of the problem with some tournaments. They want C1 refs, but then these C1 refs are like 65 years old. So
C1 and 65.
yeah, it's like the Can-Ams is kind of famous for this. Like, you have to be a C1, but, you know, it's a bunch of old guys like sometimes. And, you know, you could send up a C3 newer.
Yeah, somebody wrote that in the notes, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that was Anthony, right? Anthony, is that you? But this
Yeah.
Can-Ams is a classic example of where they say, well, you got to be a C1. Meanwhile, you know, whatever. But they're very old school. He's still doing his assignments on note cards, you know, so Neil's got to work that out. You know, I mean, it's a little frightening. You show up at breakfast and he still has the index cards and he's writing stuff on the index cards. It's like, gotta let it go, buddy.
So from my perspective, I don't see anything wrong with ranking referees at all, and I think that provides a lot of transparency within the ranks from a refereeing side. If you know, and this guy is the number one guy, then you kind of know what you need to do and where you at in comparison, especially when it comes to training development, getting fit, law exams, and all that. I mean, when I was in New Zealand, they definitely have ranks. I don't know if Chris Pollock is correct when he said they don't, but they definitely do. The premier panel ranks all their referees. It's simple. It's number 1 through number 10. And then the other panels do the same thing. But it's as far as like referees going up the ranks once you in the premier panel, you know, you're training with the same group and you know who's faster, you know who's more fit, you know who's more accurate, and it kind of works itself out. But within that system, it's just, you definitely don't have to guess why this person got this game or why this person's getting this opportunity, because I mean, you kind of know where you stand. I don't see a problem.
Yeah, but
I
Marquise,
think at higher levels it's easier.
yeah, I think, like you said, that's a high performance model, and
Yeah.
that's surely has merit. But I think what we're trying to tackle on is for the other 99.99% of refs in local. So to be honest with you, I don't think I could rank all of the Rocky Mountain refs. And again, if I did, that's what mine and the other RDO's opinions, and that would probably cause some friction, I would think, because it's opinion. I don't know. And again, like, you would need the data, and we don't have the data because we don't have those kind of forms.
That's true.
Well, how would you make selections and opportunities and development? Like, it'd be just a favoritism kind of thing. Like, I just feel his hair is nicer, so let's choose him. If you don't have any data or any other matrices.
Here's what we did in East Penn.
Anything else?
What I did in East Penn when I became the RDO here was I set up a coaching group and made an invitation, meaning that they had to reach out to me to say that they want to be in this coaching group for this exact purpose. Because one, it made everybody accountable to their own decisions to whether or not they want to be looked at. And then two, those who want to be looked at, generally speaking, were the more determined of the groups anyway. And I made a contract with everybody who signed up for it. Out of, I think, 60 active referees, I think only 7 people signed up. And I immediately sent out an email to those 7 and just said, here's the deal. I'm available to you. I will do anything you need me to do, but it's all going to be based on what you put into this. And then after that, it dropped down to 5. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go much further than that outside of one weekend because of COVID. But it basically took away that favoritism aspect because it became an accountability to the referees and the society themselves. And when I built up the program itself, I laid out the mission statement of, this is literally just to make sure that we have 5 referees on any weekend who can cover any game in the LRO. And by default, that would give you candidates who could get promoted as well. And in the development cycle, we have a document that's kind of similar to Mark's. It's not as pretty or elegant, but it's the same idea of, all right, you have a tackle area, you have a scrum area, and these are just the key elements that you can work on as you go through in your development. Right, so if we can keep it simpler, I think that's the element. And I think I'm not going to say that's the model we want to do, but that idea of putting accountability or giving the LROs the power of showing referees how to give their own accountability and manage their own development, because no matter where they are, those are the only groups you want to focus on anyway. Because you're going to have the one and done referees. You're going to have referees that come in and take the L1, do a match and go away. And then you have people who are highly motivated and want to do the job. When you give them the tools, they generally will run with it themselves.
Yeah, that's
That's what we.
Mike,
that's good stuff. That's high performance. It's like, go ahead, Marquise.
No, that's great, and I know we always put the label of high performance, but you can have the same thing for a first-year referee. I mean, it doesn't have to be run these Broncos and yo-yo tests, but it could be something that's, hey, we're gonna have like a Zoom call where we all talk about our refereeing or something, other matrices that you can like apply to referees who want to get better. Because I think the hardest thing is the guys who are young and willing to like do leave their jobs and do all this stuff for refereeing. Like, if they don't get the opportunities, like, they'll quit. So for me, it's like, how can we help them along the way and give them every opportunity that they can, and they know where they stand. So if it is a 10-year career, like, hey, it's going to take you 5 years to accomplish this, cool. At least they know where they stand. They can, like, do other things.
Again, I'm speaking a lot on this call, and I apologize. But one of the things that, like, I've been thinking of is, like, if the national situation is like they have referee managers for ARP, PRP, WPL, why don't we just trickle that down into local? So there's only maybe 8 different leagues we can all referee locally, like D2, D1, D3, women's, men's, college, high school, whatever. Like, there's only a certain amount of games, and if someone wanted to, and this would be a way to develop coaching as well, like Olivia Rogers is going to be the Rocky Mountain women's high school referee manager, and she's going to take on all the referees and work on developing them because she's new to the CMO1. And then Haley is the D2 women's college manager, and she's going to take all those pools and just kind of work on that. And then Haley's still an active referee; she can go referee in WPL and whatever, but she's also going to take on that as well.
It's an interesting idea, and yes, a lot of what we're dealing with here is kind of pathways, for interested referees that want to progress and these are all great ideas. And I think that's something that one of these groups at least can focus on, is how you set up pathways. What type of pathways could they be? What would they look like? I think that we had an idea last year in SoCal to do that. Like, we're going to have all the D3 referees come on a weekly meeting, all the D4 referees come on a weekly, based on levels. But, in the end, none of them were interested in doing a weekly meeting. They just want to go out and referee and have fun on the weekend. They don't care about that. So, there's a large, massive chunk of referees that don't want to go on any pathway. They don't care about pathways. They just want to learn. They want to have fun on the weekend. They want to stop the coach from yelling at them, and that's it. So, the pathway is a great idea because it's necessary, and yes, it needs to be focused on. These other groups also need to be focused on as well.
Yeah, those bread and butter guys. So, yeah, I think maybe that needs to be one of the groups. This sort of like ideas around the pathway and how to provide that and transparency. So it sounds like Mark is like really into that. We'll put Mark and Nick together, and then they can fight.
Right? We love each other. We're brothers.
So I want to now listen. I gotta tell you, I all of this stuff that we're doing. I got two things I got to show you. These are not approved yet. They've not been properly vetted, but this is Richard's way that, because I was saying we need something that sort of puts together all the different level systems and then the kind of games. And this is something that he and Steve Lander worked on. And
This was almost rolled out, and then COVID hit the fan.
right.
Yeah.
So this is not like vetted and final or anything, but I asked him for this because and he very graciously shared it, because one of the things that we needed to do is how can we connect like what Mark does to maybe what my LRO does, and then how can we kind of give people the ideas about the sorts of levels of games that we're talking about, because a C1 in your LRO is not the same as a C1 in my LRO. But then, and D1A, there are all different levels of D1A. But something like this, I think this is a really useful tool that kind of unites people.
Yeah, especially when they're using different formats across the country.
This is kind of what I based that off of.
Right.
I got a lot of pushback from wanting all development to be in Advantage, because some people, like Nick said, people just don't want to get in there and do it, and that's fine. So I was also just trying to create like a stepping stone to get to this.
Right. So he said this thing down here, this is like, you wouldn't ask someone to start looking at their video until they were a C1 and working on it. This whole thing at the bottom, this coaching review, this is for the thing that he's putting in where you don't have to have video. You go and you look at your own competencies. So it's a way that even beginning referees can start using those tools.
Yeah, and this will come out on the new Advantage when it gets released. And like I said, if somehow we can get funding for LROs to subscribe to it, like this is those kind of the older version of like putting in your goals and having work. You just kind of go in there and click on some stuff you want to work on.
Yeah.
But again, it would be all driven through Advantage, which I've gotten some pushback on.
Yeah, but it is one of the systems. This is one of the methods. Maybe some people really want to use Advantage. Maybe they like that. So, and then the other one, we were talking about all of this stuff, and here's another non-vetted thing, which is like the whole thing, like all the stuff that, oh shoot, that didn't go right, did it? I guess I'm slow right now. This is kind of amazing. It's like the whole system. Like all the stuff that we're talking about, all of these things, I'm reading that document, we have all these ideas, and everything we said is on this document. So it's this sort of whole idea that he has that, again, it has not been vetted. I can read you the exact words I'm supposed to read, but I think it's kind of beautiful. It's just a rough outline and ultimately needs to be vetted by USAR. So this is all the stuff that we talked about. And don't you wish you had a resource center like this and some recertification programs and all kinds of videos that taught you about all this stuff. So I just wanted to show you this because, I was trying to make sense of all that stuff that we wrote. And then I look at this and it's like, well, there it is. It's right there. So are you good with that? I'm going to go back to this. So anyway, I think, are we
And
ready
that's
to get these?
Is that an advantage? Is that
No, I don't know. That's his. It's just a PDF he sent me.
who? Richard.
Yeah.
Who's he?
Richard. I'm sorry, Richard. I thought I said that. Richard made
Maybe.
this beautiful. I mean, this is how he does it. He's really great at organizing these things. And so all these slides and all this stuff that we said, it's kind of all on this slide, on this PDF.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. So it is kind of
Is that why Richard doesn't have time for these meetings, Mark? Because he's already thought all this stuff. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to go.
yeah.
He doesn't want to
maybe,
start from scratch one.
maybe.
He's really thought a lot of this stuff through, and he hasn't, anyway. I just wanted to show you this because this kind of like lays it all out, and it would kind of give us a roadmap. And USA Rugby can't necessarily do all of it, but this is a great roadmap. What a great structure. And I know that when I started, I would have loved any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It was a desert out there. So can we go back? Let's start assigning some groups and start working on next steps. And do you guys want to talk about any more of these things, or can we assign groups and move on?
Can we define the groups? Because there's a lot of ideas out there. Like, what are the 6 things we need to really work on? Like
right.
Match levels and pathways and coaching and recruitment, and like there was a lot put upon this group to get done. And I think like, these are the 3 things we're going to do now, and then we'll worry about the other 462 later.
All right. So let me say that I thought these are the things that if we need like 2 or 3 people to make sure that we've contacted all the LROs. We have something on everybody's grading systems, maybe their documents, their policies, maybe their strategies on ref abuse. Like, what does each LRO do? Because if we know what everyone does, we can find out what we all have in common.
I'll do that.
Oh, Haley, you're awesome. Anybody want to help her? Or you're good, Haley?
I think I can handle it.
Okay, cool.
I think just a list, like Roz, a list like you were talking about just now. And I have email contacts for all the LROs. Hey, I don't know if you do. I could shoot you that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would make it quicker than me going around and looking for it. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Did you send that to me too? I'd ask John for that. He didn't have a chance to hear that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And then I think that we could gather some research on, well, we can talk about ref reviews. I'll skip that. What about some support materials for LROs to start youth recruitment and development? I was hoping Lynn would be here tonight. You guys do a whole youth recruitment thing in SoCal. And then Ken Frayne does the same kind of thing in Potomac.
Yeah. We're not in charge of the youth though in SoCal.
Yeah,
that's a separate.
That would be So let's just, we'll skip that. And then how about, LROs.
I wrote into the brain dump document about how Bert does that. I mean, there's some, it's pretty good. And I think Ken does the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely useful.
So we can come back to the youth part another time because we're gonna have a lot to do anyway. What about finding out what the LROs do for mentor and peer coaching systems? Do you want to ask them that while you're talking to them, Haley?
Yeah.
Probably doesn't exist is my guess.
Yeah, a lot of them don't. But would anyone want to start working on what mentor systems need? Like maybe LROs, like Matt Lake's not here, but I bet you he'd like to start a mentor system, but where would he even begin? How would you who could start sketching out a document of how to set up a mentor or peer coaching system? Does that seem like something that we should work on?
I have a question. Is our scope, like Jacob brought this up earlier, is our scope, when we talk about a mentor system, is it something a local LRO can implement within their community, or is it broader?
Can it be both?
I think it could be both. But I think every LRO should have a mentoring kind of policy.
Olivia, are you asking like you want the data from all the L1s going on throughout the country, and then it would be this person's job to take those emails and follow up with them with like maybe a formed email. Hey, Jacob, I saw you took the level 1 in Tennessee. How's it going for you over there? Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to take it to be a better coach. Okay, cool. Move on. Or, you know what? I haven't gotten an assignment. I don't know what to do. And then you're like, oh shit. Then, Olivia or whoever this person can contact whoever the head of Tennessee is and go, hey, you know what? Jacob hasn't got any games yet or something. He's feeling frustrated. Is that?
I think that would have to come.
That's very meta, though.
I wasn't thinking like that, but that's yeah.
I mean, that would be a lot of work. I think it comes from the LRO level. Like the LRO should be doing that, right? I mean, they should have a platform that's a great idea, though, right? I mean, have a spreadsheet and have this is what you need to do. Assign a contact person for the L1s and get them out onto the field and follow up with them.
Like that's what I think we need. We need some kind of here's how you establish it. Here's how you do it. Like in New York, we do that. We go to the L1. We make sure we have everybody's contact information.
Yeah. I think actually a few LROs do that, but
and then
it does.
There was a little in the last year. There was a little history of L1s being held and the local wasn't told. That's not very helpful.
Yeah,
they're going to fix that going forward. But one of us could start structuring out. Here's what you do. Like how you set up a mentor program. How you try to not pursue, but follow up on people who took the L1, because I think some people have no clue or what their system should need.
So it sounds like we want to get a lot of information from the LROs. Maybe Haley, like the Google form. I don't know, because you don't.
I was just thinking that a survey.
Yeah.
We can have open-ended answers, and then maybe a Dropbox for them to dump files if they wanted to.
Yeah, maybe somebody's already got a good
emails,
a good mentorship thing.
Yeah.
You're breaking up, Olivia, a little bit.
A little bit. But could we? I think we could still, even while Haley's doing this, we could still come up with here are the things that your mentorship program needs, just a checklist. Hey, you want to establish a mentorship program? Here's what you got to do. I don't know. Yeah, the research on it, because I know there's a lot of research on it. And I think if somebody got a package on that, they'd be like, all right, here's this package, you're in charge. But maybe that's what I like, but that might not be what we want to do as a group.
I think it's a great idea.
Does anybody want to do that? Or how about you, Jacob? He's like, no. All right, let's go with the rest of them are. So, we need some ideas on if you pass the L1, what should be in you pass the L1, now what happens? What should be there?
I can tackle that one, Roz. It's Mike.
Hey, Mike, you got that one?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the last one on this screen right here. You pass the L1, now what? What do they need to know? So, and then fitness support. What would a fitness support application look like? Something that that everyone could use, not just the high performance referees, but even just average people. Something where you could set up your own system that gave you some feedback or some kind of daily encouragement, because that's what people were talking about. Difference between workouts for Marquise is going to be different than me if I'm a local referee. Is anyone interested in strength and conditioning, which to me is very odd here?
Is that something we need to tackle right now? Let's get refs, and then we'll worry about, once we have refs, how to get them fitter.
We really
that's
don't.
Something we can table till
we could. 2. However, that would also be a really nifty thing for some people right now who are having trouble connecting and keeping up with it. But I agree. So we don't have to do that. So is there anything? Yeah.
I have the document from that guy at the RFU that Gary McCormick was coordinating with. It's got kind of high performance, and it's got kind of regular Joe information in there. I mean, it's something really simple, but shoot, I don't know. My ideas have been to try to take that and try to focus more in on regular Joe and see how you could kind of expand the ideas on what they could do. It's something, it's something we could start with.
At least play with it a little bit, right?
I'll I'll at least send that document to everybody.
Okay, because Paul Bretz did this thing where he set up. You got a daily law quiz, like a daily law question, because that does sort of key into educational research. A little bit every day is a lot more effective than just spending 4 hours twice a year. So, some way that people could key into a daily fitness something, it fits
That
with
was
research.
almost a bit too much. A lot of feedback from that Google Classroom stuff he set up is just like, all right, dude, you're blowing up my fucking email. Chill out.
Yeah, it doesn't
That's
have to be
Brett.
every
That's
day.
Brett's.
Yeah. But that is research. That goes along with brain research. And it shouldn't be necessarily every day. That's a lot. But yeah. So, all right. So Haley, you're gonna find out about all the LRO systems. I don't know. I think that we need to do some research on ref abuse. We can talk about that maybe now, because that's something I'm really passionate about. We lose so many people. And
Well,
there's a
that
lot of research on stress and learning.
that has to come from the top down.
But we are the
Like,
town. That's
yeah, but
I think it's a simple thing though that you could put like this could be the LRO package, right? So here's what the LROs need to stress. They need to stress sideline protocols, right? And those USA Rugby has often always had these sideline protocols, but do the LROs enforce them? Not always. And here's the reason that you need to enforce it because of ref abuse. Whether you, but something simple with a structure for LROs. Here's how you deal with the GU or the local club organizations from a disciplinary perspective, right? You have to have something in place before the season starts so that there's consequences to actions. So this is something that could be a simple structure for LROs to follow. Like tick all of these boxes and then you at least have a structure in place to deal with the issue when it arises. Because if you don't, nothing's going to happen.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. So anybody want to work on that? Alone or with a partner? Okay, because I'm going to work on that.
Disciplinary structure. Okay.
Yeah, just some kind of disciplinary structure and like feedback systems, because I just feel like if we don't take this opportunity, and maybe it's going to backfire because it sounds like there's a very unfriendly atmosphere for referees right now in this reorganization. But I feel like if we don't take care of this now, we're missing a really big opportunity. And I think this negatively impacts retention in the best of times. And I think now it's going to just be a killer. No one wants to be that guy.
I can help you, Roz.
Would you? Oh, thank you. So Olivia and I are going to do the ref abuse, and then Nick is going to work on fitness, and there's got to be some kind of application, or we'll get Mongo to write something, or Steve Gord, or like make a simple application.
I mean, there's other people that are using Strata or Strava or whatever these things are, and like I am too old to get involved in Strava, so somebody, but we can get this information from people like Cisco and Pablo Garibay and whoever these people are that are involved in these things.
A real good person for this would be Joe Burpo. He's kind of like he has to have all the latest shit, right? And he has all the latest shit.
But the thing is, it's got to be also for like those bread and butter refs. Somebody like me who, I'm not trying to, I got 3 kids and a job, and I just want to have a good time on the weekends. I just want a little something different. I want to get a little faster, but I cannot work out. Like, that's the thing I hate about these programs. They think you're going to work out like an hour every day. And,
I don't know. I mean, there's so many apps out there that if that's really your issue.
But that's really a high performance situation, though. I mean, that's kind of what that Burpo and those guys are dealing with, more high performance. But I know Roz is, what I would want is ideas on what you can do. And, like the videos that you used to produce, Haley, with Terry, I mean, things like that, just like simple things that you can go out to the park where you don't have to run around a track. You're like doing something rugby related, could be by yourself or in a group, but ideas are what people kind of want in that level. I think.
Nick, for my CMO2, I wrote a bunch of SAQ stuff and made Gavin and Aaron shoot my video. So I have all of that content I can get you.
That's awesome. Because like when I wanted to get faster, I remember my ref coach said, you have to be faster. So I had to spend like 90 minutes or whatever researching that. Okay, well, how do you get faster? I don't know how to do that, you know? So then I got faster, but it took me forever to find, 3 ideas and then one that I would actually do.
So are you just talking about like someone just in charge of like an Instagram account that does like 60 seconds, like Monday videos, Tuesday videos of like people who actually know how to train, like, and just copy and pasting information already out there?
Yeah,
Because I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, everyone is great, but I'm not an Olympic sprinter. Like, I'd rather take my advice from, Perry Baker than myself. If he already has videos out, I could just tag those videos, a good stretch for Tuesday afternoon kind of thing. Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, something like that. But also something that I could relate to. Because, Perry Baker, thank you, but I probably what he does I can't do. But somebody maybe I could do.
But you're talking about, like, I want to make myself faster. So, I mean, you can't do that by following someone slow. You want to want to make yourself so it's almost like I want to do it, but I don't want to do
it. Marquise, I really think you're onto something. Like if you had willing people, like I could post my workout I did this morning, right?
Yeah.
But I think Marquise is saying that they already do that. Like this, I'm not in that loop of workout people. So
Facebook group,
yeah. I mean that, but there's a ton. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like if you want to do like, you can do like morning yoga. There's like 20,000 people that do that. You just kind of pick and tag the video to the group. Or I mean, because my thing is like, this is great, but where's all this information going? Like, are we going to do this? Is this going to be an official USA Rugby page? Or are we going to do like, here's an app for all the referees, or an Instagram page for all the referees to follow with all this information? Because honestly, like once we do all this work, like where's it going to go? Like as a consumer, like am I going on Facebook and find this info, or am I going to get like a daily email and find this info? So I think once we figure that part out, we kind of know how and what videos to like upload.
None of that. We're just gonna like, we just want a sheet of paper that has links on it that you can send to people and say, here's a bunch of links you can click on if you're interested in getting faster. If you want to do yoga.
That's what I'm saying. Like we emailing it then, right?
But I don't know. We can. I don't know.
This sounds like you two are a group, and just remember that it's got to be for me too.
I know I shouldn't have said that.
So Marquise, that's a great idea though. I mean, Marquise, if you have a list of links that are workout related, then that's a lot of people want to see that. They want to see other people do it. Some older people, they don't care about Perry Baker doing box jumps. They want to look at some cone setup or something like that. So everybody's different. You just have to give people options is what they want.
But
they want
I also look at like $1 million listings, but I'm definitely not buying $1 million house. I like to fantasize sometimes too. So I definitely get it.
So I think it's true. It's the options. Like, I found out that the thing for me to get faster, I had to sprint hills. Because everyone's always like saying, oh, you do wind sprints. No, I'm not doing wind sprints. I would never do wind sprints. I hate them. So I needed the different idea. I needed something that was different than what everybody else was saying. So we just need to give people options. So why don't you work on it, Marquise? So it would be great because there could be 2 different ways that people can enter it in. Look at him. He's laughing.
Oh, just electronic links. I mean, that's you can.
Yeah.
I got it. All right.
You can chuck that together real quick, Marquise.
Yeah.
And if you want to run a website and a Facebook page, then damn straight, we'll do that. We'll put you on that too.
Facebook. I'm gonna kill I hate social media. I hate all social media now.
No, I'll do Instagram. I like that one. It's easier to work with.
I agree with that. I
already lost me.
It's better.
So reach out to Joe Burpo. He'll really be a good asset for you.
Yeah. So you guys work that out. So all right. Thank you, Haley. And then, wait, Mike is doing the mentorship thing, best practices for, what happens after? So who wants to work on best practices for mentors? Did we figure out who that was?
I thought Haley was going to gather info, but she had to drop off the call.
Yeah, no worries. But can anybody like start working on, here's what you need, or should we just let her do research first?
Research first.
Okay, cool.
Maybe we see if somebody's already got it in hand. Somebody's already got that type of information, but I know that Jacob probably has some good ideas for that type of thing, but it probably needs a starting place first.
All right, that's cool. So we're good. Anything else? It's 8:01. It's time to go.
Well, we have match levels coaching pathways that still need to be
Yeah.
tackled. I mean, we
The
didn't
big
get to
ones.
the major,
But that's
the major stuff.
The
We can talk
major
about
ones,
pathways.
right?
We can talk about pathways later. We're gonna have like the small group talking about pathways. What are you talking about? But Haley's gonna find out all of the. What are you talking about, Matt?
I agree with Mark on this. I think we didn't. Those were the major issues.
Yeah,
And,
we don't-
talking about fitness has nothing like we
We
can.
Say it
don't need
again.
faster
with
reps.
that.
We need
What do
reps.
you, okay, but I had said that we were gonna have that little group work on the pathways.
Well, what little group though? Like we
Yeah,
already a little
no.
group. Not gonna lie, it's only like 6, 7 of us.
Yeah. Now it's a small.
So wait, but Roz, is that PDF you shared, that's getting to match levels, right? And that's something that could potentially be rolled out broadly?
What, this thing?
Yeah.
Which thing? Yeah.
Well, that was
Potentially,
supposed
yes.
that was supposed to be done by the RNL, right? Like once the
Right.
RNL is
And
official.
so the RNL is pending whatever. Vote, but becoming a council and whatever the crap is going on right now.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, we could in theory just adopt this and then
Yes.
push it up the food chain, right? Because
Yeah.
there's nobody to take control right now of these.
Well, there is
I second
change.
that.
Well,
There
the
is-
West, we've already adopted it. I'm not gonna lie. So we pretty
So is-
much
so
use
is
the
Rockingham.
levels. Yeah.
Right, because
So
it makes sense. This fundamentally makes sense. So
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
Oh,
I
it
think our
really-
biggest issue is how do we do it? How do we get that guy from a 8 to a 7 to a 6 to a 5, and what opportunities? And I think that's something that we can solve. Is like, you know what? Like you referee out West. Like here's the way. Here's the people. This is who you need to contact. Here's the opportunity windows and times, and this is what you need to do, and make that process a lot more clear than what it was in the past.
and I think Marquis, some of the stuff around coaching and pairing kind of what Roz is throwing out there and Mark would really help inform, tie it to the match levels and progressing through those match levels, right? It's still an LRO decision, so to speak, to go from 8 to 7 to 6. But if we can gather that information and be like, hey, here's a good peer-to-peer review system and here's a good coaching system, I think that would help inform this. Like this, it's a huge concept, but I feel like it's part of the output of the research that we pull in.
Right. This is the stuff that Haley's finding out, because I feel like we can't really talk about it till we find out what people are doing. Or do you want to?
I don't necessarily. I think we've been doing this for years, though, right, Rosalind? Like I don't.
So what do you say? So tell you what you're saying.
I think we look at where's the blockage at, right? Like the blockages are from a level 6 to a 5 or 4, and then from a 4 to a 3. Like those are the hard parts that referees don't understand. If you just got your whistle on day 1, you know you at a 10, and you referee throughout the season, so you're going to probably go to like a 9 or 8, and those allocation officers know that you're beginning referees, and they're going to hopefully keep an eye on you and have like somebody be in charge of those first-year referees where they get a reference for allocating games. And I don't think from a national side that we need to dictate, like Nick said, what those local guys do to get their referees from a 10 to a 7, because that's basically D3 rugby.
Right.
For where we at. I think where we need to put our heads are at is like we got this pool of refs who really trying to go forward. Like, what do we do to make that system a lot more clear and easier? Because I mean, in the first year or two, I don't think anyone's expecting to go from a 10 to a 4.
Oh,
right?
no.
Like,
but it's kind of laid
A lot
out
of
in
them aren't.
advantage. It's laid out in advantage. So
and
Marquise-
I'm an advocate for advantage. I agree 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know necessarily like getting more information on the same thing, even though we already have it. And we've been, local referee organizations have been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
So I think where we're struggling, where I'm struggling with the level system is I can tell when a referee is handling a match okay. I can tell when they're successful, but I can't tell a referee how to be successful at what the next level would be. So it's kind of this rubric thing, like what makes a level 5 referee good, what makes a level 4 referee good, and if that's already in advantage, I think somebody needs to break that down. And I mean, it's kind of like it had been done for decades in the ABC format. Like everybody, they had that list of these are the techniques that a C1 referee has, and this is what a B3 referee has. But that's all kind of like, it seems to me that that's kind of lost.
Well, it would be now done in competencies achieving.
That's that little thing at the bottom where it says video review.
So Nick, if I'm mentoring you, right, and you're refereeing these games, you're constantly your coaching reports or your reports in Advantage are constantly getting 16, 17, 18 competencies. You start dropping down to 9 and whatever. That's that's when we need to give you some coaching or some deliver practice or whatever. So I think that's what Richard is kind of going.
What if we're not using Advantage though? I mean,
well, that's going to be an issue.
See,
how do we translate this to normal referees?
But at the same time, Nick, you already said it. Some referees don't care. Like, do we really need to spend a lot of time on the referees who don't care what grade or level they're at?
But we need to spend time.
It's most important for the allocator, because
we need to spend time on them that don't want to do Advantage or don't have time to do Advantage.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be getting these level of assignments.
Yeah,
they would. They definitely, absolutely, they would. In the local union, they would.
Yeah,
Would they?
and guys, I
They'd be
think
getting D1A assignments.
No.
Well, probably not D1A, but I mean, you're talking about D2 men or D2 men. Yes.
But if you look at this grid, though, if you look at this grid, these are all like performance, like the 4, 5s, and 6s, which Marquise is talking about, is WPL, NERA, D1A, and ARP, which are all nationally assigned. What really it's like 7 to 6 is where you're getting D2 and D2 club, and you do need a great referee for D2 club. Don't get me wrong, because those are the games that are the hardest ones to ref. Those are like 7 and 8. So
yeah,
they wouldn't. We would be going back to whatever model of coaching we could do with whatever form that Haley finds out. Right? We're gonna put all these great things together that everyone uses and spit out this one recommended model, and it'll be documented in this one thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, we'll wait to see what Haley comes back with.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like whether it's a mesh of what Rosalind and Olivia and
it's gonna
all
be a
these
mesh
people
of
have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna
And then through this committee, subcommittee, or whoever, the me, you, and Olivia, Rosalind committee, whatever, will recommend that this is it.
So one thing to keep in mind is the majority of the people on this call come from areas that have a lot of games and a good stratification. I think something Jacob said at the beginning of this call is, I live in Michigan now, and we have 20 referees, no coaches, and everyone, you have to drive 3 hours for your games. So there's no way someone's going to watch you. I mean, so that's something to keep in mind is there are people that want to progress, but there's no way for someone to watch them realistically.
Yeah.
So something to keep in the back of your mind as we're pulling this information, where we might have an 80-20 problem. Right?
What's that?
Where
we would need a simpler form that, I have no idea. Like, I know
let's
3 years ago I was
see
touting
what
solo shop,
Haley's research bears out.
Yeah.
That's a piece of crap equipment.
So hopefully we are keeping Advantage, because that just would make it simpler. But there also are ways to make tools that people can, use for themselves. Like you said, Marquise, like the I statements. That's what I did with the 7s, the simple 7s one.
Yeah.
Things like that. Things that are geared to learners, like they're learners tools. But
in theory, that will be handled by Jamie, right, in his LMS system if he gets it out. Like that's a system that can get pushed out for continuing education, and hopefully, and like I said, like what Richard is doing, what he's done with the 10-week series, right, and that's probably a little more high performance. But he's also I don't know if you've seen Amanda's posts on NCYRU. He's also doing a dumbed down version of that, and we I get it. Like, we were all frustrated that when like Richard and I worked at USA Rugby, we didn't get this shit done. But like, we're kind of getting it done now, and hopefully we can get the RNL new fresh members and put this shit out there because we all want to get it out there.
Yeah.
And
So this is the outline that he has, and like there's all this stuff is in there. And with technology these days, you know, certainly anything that Richard does is beautiful and well thought through. And then some of these pieces could be bit off by other people. They could be assigned other places. Jamie might have some things from Australia that already attached to this. So
yeah.
there are ways for people to get the information that they need. But then what about ways to get people out to other people? So what you just said, Olivia, about, you know, not having coaches to go see you and all. We were just starting with the high performance sevens, that system of talking about getting together all the names of coaches who could then people could contact and bring them in. So like Matt Lake has no ref coaches, upstate New York.
Well, so one of my ideas has to do with more mentorship coaching,
Yeah.
given geography problems, like distance. And this might speak a little bit to what Jacob was getting to, is basically do a monthly call. Like in East Penn, we had a monthly meeting and everyone could drive there. It was all nice. But do a monthly call where you throw up a couple of videos, 5 clips, and if you can extract out of kind of local games so people can relate to it, so they're not watching it international. And it's basically a monthly coaching session.
I love that, yeah.
But it can be rolled out nationally for anyone to take advantage of. And I know different LROs have done this periodically. Haley's dropped off, but they've done it before. So there's, I think Texas has done some of them. Potomac has done them. You know, so you could extract those. But when you get to resource issues, when you get to resource issues with these smaller LROs, you know, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, you know, I'm going to guess much of the Southwest that's not California. So this is what I get, Nick, when I said 80-20, like maybe it's 70-30, but 70% of our roads are geographically desert. So how do you support that coaching system when people actually do want to be better, but they may never get flown around because it's too expensive? So
yeah. No, it's 100%. I agree with that.
So what's wrong with video for these places, no matter what match? Like, why wouldn't Michigan purchase cameras for the referees to go film their match so they can get assessed and reviewed?
who's going to do the video?
Well, usually the teams do. I know in Scarfu, at least, we made a policy that all D2 and D1 clubs had to film their matches. So it may be just a union thing where you go to unions like, hey, we need this for our referee development. We just want to make sure we give you the cameras, that you allocate someone to film the games, and just make it a policy
and
for the union.
As in coaching, I can tell you that you're not going to get a tremendous amount of value out of a level 7, 8, 9, 10 video to have a coach watch the full thing. It's just, you can watch 10 minutes and you can really provide that referee with really good information. You don't need to watch 80.
Especially when they're doing it from the sidelines and you got Joe Schmo holding a camera. I mean, it can be counterproductive.
Yeah, that was that was an issue that we had down here in SURS for so long. You know, not only is it geographically huge, but it's game rich poor. And John Myers, he worked forever and a day to get the various unions and all to buy in. And then finally, slowly but surely, I think it took at least 5-7 years. He got the unions to finally buy into the fact of ref development, and they started contributing towards ref development. You know, we got money to get radio sets. They were talking about cameras. I don't know where they stand with that, but that was the biggest issue. You get a camera, that's great. Who's going to video? You know, and it's very easy to say, take your wife, take your boyfriend, take your girlfriend, take your whatever, take your kid with you and have them video. But if you don't get a good enough video, you know, that whole exercise was for naught, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. That's definitely a hurdle.
Yeah, there's also voice recording. That's a tool that's been super useful for a lot of referees. Yeah, that's one of the.
Mike
Number one
Cobb,
tool for me.
hold on,
Number one
Roz.
tool.
Mike Cobb taught a class on how to use the voice recorder and learn from it. It was a thing of beauty. So that voice recorder thing definitely works.
Everyone has a voice recorder right now on their phone. So
No, but I'm talking about, yeah, but how many people run around with it in their pocket? I mean,
I know a lot of people do.
They're $10.
Yeah, I got one, Rosalind. Thanks for you. Thanks. Appreciate that, Coach.
Anyway, I think we're still going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Do we need to
Yeah. So
tighten this up?
yeah. So
I think we can cut for now.
yeah. Well then okay, and we can like meet more on the. We do have to still talk about pathways and panels, but I think this was a useful conversation. I think we can. Talk
So are we
some.
not going to do like committees for coaching pathways and grades?
But grades, don't we need all this information still? I don't see what we're going to talk about until we find out what people are doing. What's your?
Okay.
Mark
Mark
wants to be on the pathway committee. So Mark and Marquise, we can at least pull off and start discussing what your ideas might be for pathways.
Oh, actually,
Excellent.
Yeah, because
We'll give you guys examples, and then you guys can just
actually
give it to the rest of the
I wanted to be on the match level in coaching, but okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm happy to help.
I don't understand what you're saying. Match level and coaching. What are we gonna? What's the task that we need to do there right now?
Well, like Olivia said, well, I guess we need the RNL to be the RNL and not whatever it is now, and then say, congratulations, this is our thing, right? So
Well, Jamie has said that if there is money, that we will have advantage still.
well, let's just assume there's not going to be any money.
Right.
But,
No money. But that doesn't mean that then we couldn't also find other ways to fund advantage if that's what people wanted to do.
Yeah, how much is it, just in case we got to pass the budget like next week because we got a Scarfield thing?
I don't know. I've been asking Richard. I've been asking Richard to like, because Rocky Mountain will fund it, but he won't give you a price. So I don't know.
Or is it an individual? Like, hey, if I'm a referee who really love it, like, can an individual subscribe to it?
In the beginning,
Maybe that may be cost effective.
In the beginning, it was like your LRO could pay $300, but if your LRO wouldn't do it, you could pay $100 on your own.
Let me try and work on that.
Okay, that's your
more.
Job. That's your job. So actually, and I meant to talk about you, Jacob and Marquise and Nick. You were talking in SoCal about the regional ideas. So Marquise, do you want to talk, like, get some ideas together of how to give people more ways to get into pathways?
Yeah, I mean, we've already came up with it, honestly. So I think it's probably best that we just present it and see if that's something. I think, honestly, it would be great to have Mark on because he's been the Western Zone manager. Similar system. The only difference is that person or that committee will have access to allocations. And I think that's something that Mark didn't have access to when you were manager, correct?
Well, we don't know what that's gonna look like.
There's no idea how that's going to be an allocation. Nobody knows what allocations are going to come from.
Like, so Rion was the allocator, right? But now,
yeah, but last year, like the West Coast, at least California, had some say so in those D1A assignments, or at least some suggestions, because part of the issue was Rion was East Coast and was making assignments that didn't make sense locally from the local guys. So you kind of need somebody.
I think that's going to go back to that model I was referring to before. Is those leagues will have a referee manager, and those, I would imagine that those, you will get a call to arms. Hey, you want a referee in D1A? Fill this form out, and between that referee manager and whatever support group he has to run that league, his selections will be made off of that. I don't know that USA Rugby or the RNL. I mean, maybe there'll be a selections committee kind of thing, right? Like, but we don't know what that looks like until the RNL's finalized.
Well, right? I definitely get that, but from a West Coast side, like we've already made the agreement though. Like this is how we're going to handle it. Pretty similar to the way we handled it last year, which is expanding out to more territories. Regardless of what not regardless of what they say, but like for even our referees who are not on that list, they still need that same system and structure.
Let's
for everything else. But that's why I say it'd be great for to talk to you about it. So
yeah, let's
talk
take
about
this
it and like,
offline.
come up with something that we could, a way we could see it. And then next meeting, the 19th, you guys gonna do it?
sweet.
That's what you have, maybe?
Marquise.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds right?
Just simple discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys
I'm
talk
down.
about it more,
Always
work it
down.
out, and then tell us then. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Anybody else have anything they want to do or say? And it's 8:22.
Yeah, I have to go, guys.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It's bedtime.
Gotta go. All right. See y'all later.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.